everybody. Hopefully you had a great weekend and you're ready for the week here. So first thing we want to talk about is many of you are aware there's been a change in Social Security and how that's going to be dealt with going into 2016. So Jeff was just going to kind of go through with everybody what's going on and what our viewpoint is. So Jeff.
Yeah, if you do Social Security, you probably already know that on Monday, November 2nd, Congress passed a Bipartisan Budget Act, and in it were some changes to Social Security. And without getting into a lot of detail about what the changes are, for all practical purposes, they eliminated the option to file and suspend. So they basically said that the deeming rules, which used to only apply between ages 62 and 66, now apply to everybody on up to age 70. And if you don't do Social Security, that doesn't mean anything to you. Really, for all practical purposes, what it means is if you've been out to our website, the 5Q website, you probably already saw that we took down our Social Security presentation. And that's because our Social Security presentation was built around the ability to file and suspend, and so it didn't really make any sense. We couldn't tweak it. We would just have to redo the whole thing. So if you do Social Security, I'm sure the people that do the software have changed all the software to reflect the new rules, so your software should still work. If we run software illustrations for you, our software has been changed to reflect the new rules, so our software will work. And usually the software providers also provide workshops. So if you've got a workshop, my suggestion is go ahead and make sure that you have the latest version of the workshop that they're putting out, because obviously things changed last Monday. Everybody that I know that does Social Security has been on top of the changes, and they've already come out with presentations. But if you're doing that, make sure that your presentation is the latest version that's available to you. And I would probably go ahead and continue to do it. There were some grandfathering provisions, and so most of these things don't take effect for at least 6 months. And the public, I don't think, is as aware of it as you are, so you'll be able to continue to market and continue to do this for quite a while. So if you've got something that works and something that you're happy with, as long as you have the latest and greatest version of it, it should be fine. But we don't have ours any longer because ours was all about those original file and suspend type strategies that will become obsolete in by May 30th, I believe. So you don't want to use ours. Just go back and use the one that the software providers have for you.
Perfect. Thanks, Jeff. So again, guys, if you have something that works and you're in a territory, again, what we've seen is a shrinking amount of places where Social Security works, because so many people got into it and was doing it, that the amount of people that were actually going to the Social Security workshops has shrank quite a bit. So some of the territories, or a lot of the territories, are actually just farmed out, and nobody's even going to these things anymore. So, but if you're in a territory where you still have a lot of people coming, and the president, as Jeff was saying, if the presentation has been updated to the new rules, and the software has been, and all the software has been updated to the new rules, because keep in mind, guys, the SocialSecurityTiming.com, they had to update everything, because they're a one-trick pony. That's all they do. So they're going to try to milk this as long as possible. So they've changed their event, and they've changed their software. So if it's working, keep using it till it doesn't work anymore, till you're not getting any more people in. And if you've got marketing that are getting in front of people, well, let me get some answers to this, see if you guys remember. Is it the marketing that's going to make you go with the money, or is it the 21-point checklist? I want to see a lot of answers to this. Marketing or the 21-point checklist? Okay, everybody's getting it right. Super. So it doesn't really, if you've got a way to get in front of people, keep doing it until it doesn't what? Work. Because I don't care how you get them in. Once we get them in, we can get them in the 21-point checklist, and then they discover what really is the problem. Social Security is not the problem. Running out of money is not the problem. What's the problem that they have, guys? What's the problem that all these people have they don't know they have? Yep, that's right. That's right. It's their advisor, and they can't trust their advisor. Good. So if you have any questions on this, go ahead and shoot Jeff an email. Be happy to answer those. But again, if it's working for you now and you're using the latest and greatest, keep on doing it. We're not going to update it just simply because it is a shrinking marketplace. So I'm not going to go through a lot of hoops and things, whatever, to create a brand new Social Security event from scratch when it's already it's a shrinking pool. But if you've got access to one that it is, keep doing it. Make sense to everybody? Any questions on that? Any basic questions on that? Not this particular. Okay, good. Oops, I got to change my. Okay, here's the formula that newspapers use, that the news radio uses, that TV news uses, which is the market has moved, fill in the blank, slowly or sharply, fill in the blank, up or down, and investors are concerned / jubilant, so fill in the blank, concerned or jubilant, but are concerned whether the market will fill in the blank, continue or reverse. I mean, it's this. This is their headline. This is their story over and over and over. They're going to say the market has moved sharply down, and investors are concerned, but blah 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 blah. So what I'm saying here is the news service really reporting news when it comes to the market, or are they trying to do what? So then, if everybody's saying no, so then what are they doing with about the market when they're sell papers, Bobby, exactly, sensationalize it, right, Bert? So we can't really pay attention to that. But here's the thing: we get that, but does the public get that? No, they don't. And here's the problem with that. The problem with that is this: there's been a study about the power of Google, and the power of Google is very, very scary. Now, you should be aware of it, but unfortunately, you being aware of it is not going to help the public not being aware of it. So anybody have any idea why Google is so scary? Let's see if anybody gets this. Why is Google so scary? Data mining, kinda. Bert, kinda. They control what comes up on the searches, Bobby. Exactly. They control what's coming up on the searches because they do track everything that we do. And the more we search some sort of topic, the more that topic what? The more we search a certain, if I search the market down, market down, market down, do my searches look the same as if I'm searching market up, market up, market up? Or will it come up with two totally separate solutions for me? Do you guys get that? See, they track what I'm searching, and if I'm saying market down, market down, market down, market down, they're going to skew all my searches towards no matter what I'm looking at. If I just type in market, so if I'm market down, market down, market down, market down, and the next time I come into my computer and I type market, where's it going to push me towards? Down, exactly. And if I'm researching market up, market up, market up, market up, next time I go and I put market in there, where's it going to send me to? Market up. Now, what is the problem with that? Well, here, I'll give you the problem with that. Robert Epstein and Ronald E. Robertson, they showed that Google rankings of search results are influenced by attitudes, preferences, and behavior to the point that there's an effect. It's called the search engine manipulation effect. And they actually published this paper in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. And they showed that biased search engine rankings can shift voting preferences of undecided voters by 20% or more. Guys, 20% or more. Is that small or is that huge? In today's world of elections being won by 1 or 2%, is this a small thing or a huge thing? It's a humongous thing. So what they found is that depending on so why do you think, for example, Trump, why do you think the person who's creating headlines stays so high for so long? Because every time people go in to search GOP election, what comes up first? And why? Trump does. Why? Because how many people have been Googling Trump for the last 5 months? Everybody. So what does Google assume when you go to GOP election? What do they assume you want to know about? Trump. See, because does anybody not get what I'm saying here? It's got an algorithm that looks at what are people most likely to be interested in, and then it funnels you towards that. So it doesn't just say, let's take a wide-angle view and not make any assumptions about what these people want. Let's give them very broad-based searches. They want to help, quote-unquote, help us. So by helping us, what they do is they make our searches broader or make them narrower. Narrower, which really helps us if we're looking at how to tie boat knots, or if we're looking at how to raise a dog better, or whatever. If we're looking for, but if we're looking for news, does that help us or does that hurt us? It hurts us because it's going to funnel all of our news into one point of view, and so is the one point of view necessarily the right point of view? I mean, should we be looking at the broadest points of view or the narrowest point of view when we're looking at news? Broadest or narrowest? Yeah, the broadest, exactly. Well, what Google's doing is pushing us to the narrowest. So it's not only will this affect, have they shown that it affects the politics, but guess what else it affects? It affects efficient market theory. Why does it affect efficient market theory? See if anybody gets this. Why would it affect efficient market theory? People are thinking. Emotions drive the market. I mean, that's true. Directing thoughts, right? So if it's directing thoughts or influencing, what happens to efficient market theory? Is it efficient anymore? No, it's not. See, efficient market theory is based on what? Everybody having the same opinion, or people having all sorts of different opinions? Equal information, exactly right, Tony. Equal information. That's what efficient market theory is about. Equal information. But unfortunately, what's happened is this: is with Google, 70% of searches go through the Google algorithm. And if 70% of searches are going through the Google algorithm, guess what happens? This. So how will that affect the marketplace? Why is that scary? Yeah, Google controls it. Wildly skewed information, I mean, unequal information, all that stuff, exactly right. So the problem with this is that I don't think Google is trying to control, though they could if they wanted to. I think they're truly using an algorithm. But what happens is the most sensational news ends up getting Googled the most or the least. Can lead in the wrong direction. I agree with that, Paul. See, so the most sensational news gets Googled the most, which means we start paying attention the most to what? The credible news or the most sensational news? And if the markets are driven by the most sensational news, is that going to mellow the market out or create wild swings and problems in the market? Problems. And then, unfortunately, when it has a problem, even more people go and Google that, which causes what? Do you get this as a self-perpetuating problem? So, and we've talked to clients about this. The stock market crashed in 1929. Then there's a stock market crash in 62, 63. Then there's a stock market crash in 73, 74. Then there's a stock market crash in 87. Then there's one in 90. Then in 2008. What's happened to the crashes? Are they getting closer together or further apart? And why are they getting closer together? And as things like Google and where we get our information, create more and more, point us more and more the same direction, is that going to make us more to make the market safer or more volatile? What if you're smart? Does it help you? If the market's more volatile because of this, does that help us? If we're smart, does that help us? How could it possibly help us if we were smart? More opportunities. How are we going to get more opportunities? Are you freaking smarter than everybody else in the country? How can we, guys, if you're the smartest guy in the mob, what's going to happen to you? If you're the smartest guy in the mob, what are you going to happen to you? If everybody's running for the elections but you're not, what's going to happen to you? You're dead. So does it matter if you're smart in this type of environment? No, it doesn't. And that's why we do 50-50. Because we can't control the mob. And the mob is what's controlling the marketplace. Make sense? So today I want to talk about this. So that's the pointer for today. Today I want to talk about this guy. And he's the do-it-yourselfer, right? And there's two types of do-it-yourselfers. There's a single do-it-yourselfer and the couple do-it-yourselfer. Why does a single do-it-yourselfer handle his own money? Because he loves it. So if the guy loves what he's doing, if the do-it-yourselfer loves what he's doing, what do I do with that guy? Single do-it-yourselfer loves making his own investments. What do I do with that guy? That's right, Gary. Leave him alone. I help him best I can and then kick him out of the office. Because is there anything you can do to get this guy to move? No, because he thinks he's what? A genius. So there's nothing you're going to be able to show him. Now, if they come in and say, listen, I've just gotten crushed. I mean, you probably saw some of these folks after 2008 saying, you know what, I'm done with this. I got crushed. I don't want to handle it. I've actually heard people, too, that are getting older saying, listen, I'm 87 now. I just can't handle this stuff anymore. I need to get somebody else involved. So if they've given up and don't want to do it anymore, will I take that guy? Yeah, absolutely I will. Now, with couples, I'm going to go with the couple all day long. Why would I go with the couple all day long if they're do-it-yourselfer? Why would I go with them? Why would a couple have an open mind? Spouse needs help, right, Dino? Spouse, yep, Bobby. Yep, that's exactly right. One handles it, one doesn't, right, Todd? So the fact is that I'm going to leverage the fact that very few couples have both couples managing the stocks, right, or managing the investments. Usually it's just one of the spouses. And it's the other spouse, typically the wife, who does she really think that her husband's a genius? Does the wife really think that her husband, the do-it-yourselfer, is a genius? No, she doesn't. She's seen him do how many boneheaded things in their lives? A gazillion. Yeah, I forgot to make the story exactly. So too many things. So, but does she feel she knows enough to argue with him on this? Nope. So she decides what? I'll just let him do it because I don't know enough to fight. But when she finally finds somebody who will help her and somebody that she gets, somebody who communicates the way she wants to communicate, who wears the pants in the family? She does. So we're going to show you is that with a couple, how we deal with a couple do-it-yourselfer, and we get them committed for a dollar amount. We're never going to get them to move all the money, but we're going to get them to commit to a certain dollar amount. So the DIY formula is we're going to first talk about them that we treat them differently than all of our other clients. And by doing that, and we're going to tell them the reason we're treating them differently is because of how great they are. And then we're going to ask, are you in competition with me? Because I can't afford to be in competition with I can't afford to educate my competition. Then we can say, well, the real reason you came in was why? Not because you need help, but because you want somebody to be there in case something happens to you. And then I say, I treat you differently than other people with brokers, and all it requires is a certain dollar amount. And then we summarize that, and then we have them summarize it back. Okay? So actually, what I'm going to do, I was going to actually just go through and talk about this in generality, but I think you might actually get more out of it if we show you, just walk through the script and figure out what we're doing. So if we go down, the script for the do-it-yourselfer is under the agreement meeting. So I'll click that. And then I'll go down to training scripts and audios. And then I'm going to go down to starting the agreement with the do-it-yourselfers, the PDF. So we'll download that. Open it up. So here we go. I'm going to get it down to something that's more manageable. Okay. So when we get here, we're going to talk about, hey, you know, the fact that you've managed your own portfolio, I think that's great. I mean, I found that some things that we can do here for you, you know, we found some things we can do here for you. You know, I think we can help you with some of these things that you had questions about. But, you know, most of the stuff you're doing is really great. Because when the do-it-yourselfer comes in, are they coming in to get their investments taken care of or the non-financial taken care of? If we do things right, are they coming in to get their investments taken care of or the non-financial? That's right, they're non-financial. So we're going to say, hey, so we're going to help with these other non-financial things. And obviously, I'm not going to actually work with, I mean, you're taking care of your investments. I'm not going to be helping you with that at all, I mean, because you know what you're doing. See, my job is So if I get started here again. So your job is to decide if you want to what? My job is to make sure that they make sense. So the non-financial things, their job is to make sure they make sense. If they don't make sense, what are you going to do? Well, we're not going to do them. But you want to know about them so you can make what kind of determination. So again, the non-financial things. So we can decide if we want to do them or not. So the way that I work is probably a little differently than I work with you. It's a little differently than I work with most people. So again, I'm talking to the do-it-yourselfers. The way I work with you is a little bit different than I work with most people. See, because you've done quite well. You built up a great portfolio here. So how much am I going to compliment them, guys, on how great their portfolio is? A lot. Because is my job at the agreement meeting to get them to move their money? No. So my job is to get them to go through what? What's my job at the agreement meeting? Get them to go through what? A 21. So he thinks he's wonderful on his investments, so guess what I'm telling him? He's wonderful on his investments. You've done quite well. You built up a great portfolio here. And then I say, but and the guy will say, well, yeah, I'm doing okay. They usually have some mock modesty there, but whatever happens there, I'm going to get them into this conversation. I say, I've been doing this for 20 years. And I've seen people who do all this stuff themselves, and I've seen people who use brokers for all of it. I've also seen people that do some of this for themselves and let the broker handle the rest. And 100% of the time, who do you think does the best? The broker or the person who's managing their own assets? Which one do you think does the best? And what's the do-it-yourselfer going to say 100% of the time? That's right, self-management, themselves. And then I'm going to tell them why. I'm going to say, yeah, you're right. It is the people who manage themselves. And even when people have a broker and people manage the portion of the portfolio themselves, who do we find works better? Now, again, they'll say, well, yeah, probably the one they're managing themselves. And we'll start to support that with them. You're going to say, right, because the average broker is going to have how many clients? How many clients is the average broker going to have? What do you think people say? 200. Yeah, they'll say something like a lot because they don't know exactly many. So yeah, they're going to have a lot of accounts. So how much time can they spend on each specific account then? And what are they going to say to that? Not much. Yeah. So they'd like, and of course they want, let's not be crazy here. They do want you to make money. They do want you to make money, but if you don't make money, does that really hurt them? Does that really hurt the broker? And what's the do-it-yourselfer say when you ask that question? What's the do-it-yourselfer say when you say, the broker wants to make their client money, but if they don't make money, does it really hurt the broker that much? What are they going to say? Nope. They're going to say, no, it doesn't hurt them that much at all. So you're right. So you should pat yourself on the back because you watch your accounts a lot more closely than anyone else would. And as a result, you've done a lot better than most brokers. Now, we've talked about some other things that you need to kind of update and pay attention to, but you've done great on your investments. Now, here's the thing. I've talked to a lot of advisors, and do they like saying that to a do-it-yourselfer? So if you don't like saying it, why do we say it then? It's getting on their side. Exactly right. We're getting on their side. So we say, there's some things we need to look at. In our example, it would be the win-win-win. We need to look at that. We need to make sure your power of attorney is taken care of. But as far as the investments, how have you done? Yeah, we've done pretty darn good. And then I'll switch gears here. So at this point, yeah, we're disarming them, right? So because at this point, do they think I'm going to try to go after their investments? If I spent 5 minutes telling them they're fantastic investments, why do-it-yourselfers are going to be better, that every time I've looked at a do-it-yourselfer, their investments are better, what do they know I'm not going to talk about? Their money. So if I'm not going to talk about their money, are they okay with me talking about the other stuff? People who do-it-yourselfers, do they think, they love taking care of their investments. They love researching that. Do they also love researching things like beneficiaries, estate law, estate planning law, taxation? Do they like researching that stuff? No, that's icky and putsy. Nobody likes researching that. So that's the direction that I'm going to go. So the next thing, now that I've complimented them and disarmed them, I'm going to say, so let me ask you a question. Are you planning to go in competition with me? What do they say to that? No, of course not. And I said, well, I asked that jokingly, but my point here is that you aren't my competition. So I can share things with you that I might not share with everyone. Because if someone comes in with another broker comes to see me, guess what I require them to do? I require them to move all of it, because should I be required to educate my competition? And what do they say to that? No. So then I'll say, now what am I doing here? What do you think this paragraph is about then? Now, my point is that you're not my competition, so I can share things with you that I might not share with everyone else. If someone who comes in with another broker comes to see me, I require them to move all their money to me and only me, and to follow my advice, because I don't want to share my advice with my competition. What am I doing there, do you think? Building them up, but yeah, what else though? Do people like to be part of a secret society? Ah, Bobby got it, exclusivity. Do people like to be part of a secret society? So what am I saying here? Hey, I'm going to share some information with you I don't normally share with other people because you're special. So I've told him he's brilliant with his investments. Now I'm telling him he's a special person. What's happening to this do-it-yourselfer? Am I bringing him in, or am I pushing him away? He's feeling good, exactly. See, because I spend a lot of time and effort putting together these things that I do. I don't want this to be shared with the competition. So I think that the fact that you're doing this stuff yourself is terrific. And I'm going to take a wild stab in the dark here now. Are you like my household, where see, at my household I have certain responsibilities and Michelle has certain responsibilities. So I take care of the yard work and garden. She takes care of the house and the household. Is that crazy, or is that the way that you guys work too? So what do people say when I say that? I mean, so when I'm doing the lawn, do I take the left side of the handle, my wife take the right side of the handle? And when we're washing dishes, do we both wash the dishes and then we both grab a drying towel and we both dry the dishes? Is that how we do it? Or what do most people do in most households? Yeah, we split it up, exactly. We split up the work, exactly. So and how many people do you think argue with me on that? Or they say yes? Yeah, that's exactly how we do it. Yeah, none. They all say, yeah, that's exactly how I do it. So then I say, so see, what I'm getting them is to buy. I say, hey, I'm lowering their guard to say, listen, do we all have the same responsibilities, all separate? So I use myself as an example first, and then to say, hey, it's safe to say that, and so they go ahead and say that. So I say, yeah, for example, dealing with people that help us, I deal with the landscaper, I deal with the pest control, I deal with the car problems. But my wife, she deals with the credit card problems we have. I mean, is that kind of how it is in your house? You have kind of assigned jobs. Each of you has an assigned job or assigned responsibility, and what do most people say? So I'm going to ask that 3 or 4 times to lock them in. And say, yeah, man, it really doesn't make sense for me to call the pest control and then Michelle to call the pest control. It doesn't make sense for her to balance the checkbook and then for me to rebalance it. Does that make any sense for me to do that, or do we each have our own responsibilities? So why do you think I keep having them tell me over and over and over that we each have our own responsibilities? What am I preparing them to say, do you think? Okay, that's right. Only one handles the money, right, Gary? So that's what I'm getting them to say, listen, we each have different responsibilities. We each have different responsibilities. We each have different responsibilities. So when I get to the money, they don't say what? Oh, yeah, we both handle the investments. Because really, how many couples have you come across in your career where they both handle the investments? They're both just as knowledgeable in investments. They both sit down and they put their heads together and look at the investments. I mean, I never saw that. At most, anybody I've ever talked to said, well, yeah, I had one couple that was the way. But that's 1 out of thousands, right? So then once I get their commitment to that, now I say, and Rochelle, no. So then I'm sorry, I have to go back here. Sorry, I keep losing my space here. So that's a nice part of the thing about being married. So the way that my household works is Michelle actually does the checkbook. She writes all the checks, but I deal with the investments. And what is how often do people say, yeah, that's just like us? So why am I using myself as the example there? Why am I using myself all the way through this? Don't presume. Yeah, I would. Yeah, that's correct. The thing is, I'm making it safe. If I do it this way, is it safe for them to say they do it this way? Yeah, being a group is safe. Exactly, Gary. Yes. So basically, I'm getting. Am I wrong? Is this how a lot of households are set up? In fact, most households. And then I'm going to turn to Rochelle and say, I'm going to reiterate. So I do most of the investing, but Rochelle, so I'm turning to his wife, or the person who does not take care of the money, and say, and Rochelle, you have other responsibilities. Is that right? So why do I turn to her and ask this right now? See if you can get this. Why do I turn to her and ask her this right now? What do I not want to make her feel like? Yeah, I'm getting on her side, Bobby, right. So, because I don't want to make it seem like what? She's an idiot. She doesn't know what she's going on. That's right, that she's a dummy. I don't want her to seem like she's dummy. So I'm saying, listen, we both have responsibility. So I take care of the investing, and who in your family does most of this? Well, I do. Yeah, and then go ahead and let the guy say, I do. I already knew he did, because that's all he wants to talk about. Then I would turn to the wife and say, now, and Rochelle, you have other responsibilities for the household, right? And then have her include her so she doesn't feel like, yeah, that's right. So James, so she's an equal partner, right, Kevin? So she doesn't feel second class. Does that make sense to you? Now I'm going to take a guess here. Basically, every person in your situation is coming to see me. They don't really need me. I mean, sure, they might be interested in learning a thing or two here and there, but they really don't need me to take care of the money. I mean, you're already doing a great job with that. I mean, you don't need me to help you to do what you're already doing great at. The reason you're here is to make sure that if something happens to the person who primarily takes care of the money, there's a backup. So there's somebody there to help Rochelle to get on her feet and make sure she can take care of it herself. At least she's not going to be thrown into chaos, so at least she has somebody that you're familiar with, that communicates well with you, make sure you get along with, that can help you, Rochelle, with the investments until, you can get on your feet and able to do it yourself if you want to do it. So are you sitting, so Rochelle, how much do you know about the investing? Are you sitting in front of the computer when he's doing it? Are you helping make the choices? Are you making the trades? Or do you have other responsibilities in the house? And what's she going to say? She has others. So say, I might be way off base here, but you're not here for me, here for you, are you, Jeff? You're not here for you. You're here so that something happens to you, Rochelle at least has a backup until she gets it together, gets on her feet, and can manage this for herself. She has someone to bounce things off of and kind of help you through the things. Or am I way off? You're not here for yourself, Jeff. You're actually here because you love your wife. What's he going to say to that? What does he have to say to that? See, if the wife is there, now I'm going to leverage the fact that the wife is there. And then I say, can I ask you a question? And they say, sure. Who dies first? I'm going to hide this. Who dies first, the husbands or the wives? And guess what they always say? Now, you're right, Tony. They're going to sleep on the couch if they don't say that. We got a lot of husbands, he. And you know what? That's normally what they answer. And then I make a big joke about this, but I also make a great point about this. Because they almost always say the husbands. I say, no, it's not the husband. You know who dies first? See if anybody gets it. Who dies first? See if anybody read ahead. So this is kind of a joke, and aha, Bert got it. I say, the person who manages the money, that's who dies first. I don't know if it's because of the stress or because of the responsibility, but the person who manages the money always dies first. If the woman is the one that does investing, she dies first. If the man is the man that does investing, he dies first. It's always the person who's managing money that dies first. So if you're managing the money, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Jeff. So why do I make a joke about that? Because I'm making a point. What am I having them get through their heads? They'd better have a what? They better have a backup. They better have a plan B. So I've got some households where the wife takes care of investments and the husband does whatever, but I have yet to see a household of people where they both handle the investments. It's a waste of time and effort. So sorry to give you the bad news, Jeff, but the person who takes care of the investments and knows what's going on dies first. And the reason that people like you come to see me, usually is to make sure that there's a backup. And heck, if you could get some good ideas along the way, that wouldn't be so bad either, would it? I said, no, definitely not. So again, the way that I work with people such as yourself that are smart enough to be doing these things themselves without a broker, because you have given me your commitment, they're not going to move across the street and go into competition with me, I'm able to share all this information with you. So the way that I do this, I'm not going to ask you for all of your investments. I mean, you're doing a great job with all your investments, but if I was able to find a good home for $100,000 of your $400,000, so just $100,000 out of your $400,000, something that you liked that was doing better than you currently are doing now, would you be willing to move it? I mean, again, so first of all, I'm coming up with an exact what? What am I doing here? Making sure we're clear what that number is. Does it matter what the number is, guys? Is there some magic number? No, this is a judgment call. So when I first started, when I was struggling, guess what my number was? 50. That's right, Kevin, 50. And then it moved up to 75. Then it moved up to 100. It finally ended up at 150. I wouldn't take them on unless they had 150 when I was doing really well. So I'm getting that number. And the great thing about that is this, is once we have that number, invariably, they'll both agree to that number. Because I'm giving the guy lots of outs, right? He has to like it. It has to be putting him in a better position. I'm giving him lots of outs there, but I'm locking him into that number. And invariably, when we finally get to the solution meeting, guess what that guy would say? They want to move forward. They want the 21. They want to move forward. They want to work with me. So guess what he'd want to give me? Yeah, I wish more. Nope. He'd say, let's start with 10 grand or 20 grand, right, Tony? And then what would the wife say? He'd want to see the guy. They promised me 100, and when we finally get when the rubber meets the road, they want to work with me. But they say, okay, let's start with 10 or let's start with 20. But the wife would say, we made an agreement. We made an agreement that it was going to be whatever that number was, whether it was 50 or 100, whatever. We made an agreement. We need to what? Now, why is she jumping in there to aid me? Why is she jumping in at that solution meeting to aid me when the guy tries to waffle on the agreed amount? That's right. She wants the backup. She wants me. She loves me. For all the reasons we've talked about before, she loves all the non-financial stuff that I'm doing. Also, she knows that I'm a professional and he's an amateur. So she wants me to be involved. She does not want me to walk at this point. So she's going to come to my aid and argue with him about the agreement. Does that make sense? Now, that's, again, at the next meeting. So let's get back to this agreement meeting. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually, anytime, guys, should we ever brag about ourselves? Should we brag about how great we take care of people? Should we brag about all of our credentials? Should we brag about how long we've been in business? Should we brag about how smart we are? Because anything we say promoting ourselves is viewed as what? Yep, selling. So I do brag about myself. Guess how I brag about myself? I brag by apologizing. So I'll show you. This is a technique we use often in the system, and is I brag by apologizing. So I'm saying that my minimum is 100,000, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to apologize for the fact that my minimum is 100,000, and by doing so, I'm going to be bragging about how I take care of my clients. So watch how I do this. So I'm going to say, that's why I ask for 100,000. You see, that is the minimum client size. Oh, let me explain why I ask for the 100,000. You know, because when I say 100,000, what happens to do-it-yourselfer's eyeballs? When I say I need 100 out of the 400, what happens to his eyeballs? Yeah, they pop out. And that's just, so let me explain why I ask for 100,000. You see, that is the minimum client size. That's my minimum client size, and the reason I have that minimum client size asset is because there's only so much time in the day, and I've made a commitment to my clients that when they come in, that I'm going to stay on top of things, keep them informed, get on the phone and call them when things change. See, guys, is that bragging right there? Yeah, it is. But see, it's bragging within what? The apology. So I'm not saying, hey, look at how great I am. I'm saying, hey, I'm sorry, but I made these promises to my current clients. So watch how I do this. I say, hey, see, my minimum client size, and the reason I have that minimum client size is asset is because There's only so much time in the day, and I've made a commitment to my clients when they come in that I'm going to stay on top of things, keep them informed, get on the phone and call them when things change. I take very, very good care of them in personal care and on one-on-one, and when they come in, I have promised them that I would do what? I'll give them full attention. Yes, and should I honor my commitment or shouldn't I honor my commitment? And what do they say? Honor it, exactly. So who's telling me that if they say you should honor it, who's telling me that those things are true? Do you get that? See, so all of my clients have a minimum of 100,000. I cap the number of clients I can take at 300 clients. Some brokers will have 2,000 clients. So how much time can you give somebody when you have 2,000 clients? Very little. Exactly. Little, if any. So I have my practice capped at 300. And if I lowered my minimum from 100,000 to 50,000, then how many clients do I need? Instead of 300, I need how many folks? 600. So if I have 600, that means I have twice as many people, which means I can only spend how much time with them? As much as I promised, or only half of what I promised? Only half of what I promised, exactly. So if I make my clients as promised, should I honor it or not honor it? So do you see how I bragged about how I take care of my clients and I'm a man of my word and I take all that stuff? I bragged about all of it, but I did it in the form of bragging or apologizing for the fact that I have a $100,000 minimum. So do they ever suspect that I'm bragging when I do that? Or are they more paying attention or explaining to me why my minimum is 100,000? So they're not looking to lampoon the fact that I take care of my clients. They're actually trying to analyze why my minimum is 100,000. Do you get that? Guys, that is not a small thing. That is a huge thing. If there's something that I want to brag about, I never brag about it. I find a reason to apologize for that thing I'm bragging about. So they actually take the thing I'm bragging about as fact, and it's a fact that they're using to determine whether my apology is worthwhile or not. Does that make sense? That is not a little thing. That is a big thing. Because who's hearing the fact that the fact, not the promise or the sales pitch, the fact that I take care of my clients. Who's hearing that? Yeah, they are. Who of the wife? That's right, Jim. Jerry. Right. The wife is hearing that, and right, Rick. And she wants that or doesn't want that. Also, think about this. Who told me that the 100,000 is viable and fair? Both of them did. I didn't tell them it's 100,000. They told me the 100,000 is fair. Does that make sense? So I get back in here. So I know that sounds like a lot, but that is what I need in order to follow through with all the clients, and that's the agreement we have when they came on, giving them that kind of service. I guess the question is I have for you is this. If I would be able to find a better home for that 100,000 out of the 400,000, and it made what? I mean, it has to make what? I mean, because I said so or because who said so? Well, because we said so. Exactly. The guy's going to say that. He's going to say, yeah, no, it's got to make sense to me. Yeah, I mean, there you go. Exactly. You need to understand it. It has to make sense for you. It has to be something that you think is a good idea for you. But, I mean, if we did that, would you be willing to give me the kind of commitment that if it met all of your criteria to move the 100,000 out of the 400? Well, if it met all the criteria, then yeah. Only if it meets some of the criteria or what? No, all of the criteria. Exactly. So I don't care if everybody in the world says it's a better thing to do. Should you do it? If everybody in the world says, hey, if I show you proof upon proof upon proof and show you that everybody in the world says my solution makes sense, should you do it, folks? No, you shouldn't. Why? There's only one person that should determine whether it makes sense for you or not, and who's that? Yeah. So by doing this, what am I giving? I'm giving that guy all sorts of what? I'm giving the do-it-yourselfer all sorts of what? Locking him in or giving him lots of outs? I'm giving him lots of outs. Why do I want to give him lots of outs? Is it my job at this meeting to lock him in? No. It's my job simply to get the agreement that if he sees things he likes, he'll move a certain dollar amount. How certain am I at the end of the 21 he's going to be comfortable saying that he likes a lot of the things that I have? And if not him, who's going to like him? And push comes to shove, even though he's been managing all the investments for their whole entire life, push comes to shove, if the wife finally says, we're working with this guy, guess what's going to happen? If she wants to work with me, what's going to happen? They're working with me. Does that make sense? Does that help you on dealing? So if you run into a lot of do-it-yourselfers, I would absolutely become very, very comfortable with this script. Okay? If you work with a lot of do-it-yourselfers, absolutely you need to get comfortable with the script. Is it necessary that you memorize this script, guys? Or is it necessary that you just are able to have a conversation that flows through this script? Memorization or flow? Yep, just flow. Just understand it. That's right. It should just understand the direction that you're trying to go. And the first thing we're always going to do with the do-it-yourselfer is to do what? First thing we're always going to do with the do-it-yourselfer is do what? Tell him he's a what? Investment genius. Okay? And then just as a little reminder, when we get into the 21-point checklist with a do-it-yourselfer, who are we going to have them identify as the villain? Who is the do-it-yourselfer and the wife going to, the custodian, right, Jerry? The company. Now, when we get into the investment portion, what's the first thing we do when we get into the investment portion? Again, this is at the 21. Presently, up to this point, we've been talking about the agreement meeting. Do you understand? Now, I'm not talking about the agreement anymore. Now I'm talking about the 21-point checklist. So like you all said, we're going to have the villain be the custodian. Then before we get to the, right before we get to the investment portion of the 21, I'm going to say you like things sugar-coated, you like things straight. They're always going to say, I want them straight. And then, but the first thing we do after we ask them that question is what? Make sure that I tell the guy he's a what? Investment genius. That's right. So the first thing I do when I roll into the investments is I'm going to tell him he's an investment genius. And I'm going to try to find some examples of that. So I'm going to pick a few investments where he's done really, really well and compliment him on how well he made that decision. And then I'm going to, how much of the portfolio am I going to carve out to have him discover is not what he wants? Am I going to do, yeah, whatever that amount is. So I'm going to find that 100,000 that's the weak link, and that's where I'm going to, so I'm going to compliment him on everything else. If he's got 400,000, I'm going to compliment him on all the 300,000 he did, and then say, now I did have one place that you could probably do better, and it's this place here. It's got about 100,000 in it. So I'm going to try to find that investment that matches how much they've committed, and that's what I'm going to do the slice and dice on, have them discover that the custodian is not doing or withheld information on. Does that make sense? Do not slice and dice the rest of the portfolio, because no matter, if you slice and dice the rest of the portfolio, what's going to happen, guys? If you slice and dice the rest of the portfolio, yeah, he's going to walk. And our job at this point is to move all the money or get a relationship with the wife. Get a relationship with the wife. Because am I kidding? Who's going to die first? He is. So you want to be there to help the wife. You want to be in a position to help your wife. Because if you don't get this relationship, will she remember who you are 3 years from now when he kicks the bucket? So we want to get the relationship now to make sure we're in position to help her now, help them both now, and help her when something happens to him. Does that make sense? Does this help you understand better how we deal with do-it-yourselfers? Cool. Awesome. Well then, thank you very much. Have a great rest of the week, and we'll talk to you all. Jeff will talk to you on Friday. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.